In the heart of Enugu, amidst the bustling streets and lively markets, lived a young girl named Ione. She was as radiant as the sunrise, but despite her beauty, Ione's life was clouded by hardship and struggle. Her family barely had enough to eat, and every day was a battle for survival. Ione's father, Okoro, was a man more concerned with his own pleasures than the well-being of his family. He would disappear for days, wasting money on women and drinking at bars, leaving his family to fend for themselves. Ione's mother, a resilient and devoted woman, took up the responsibility of caring for her children, selling akara by the roadside just to keep food on the table. Sometimes, Ione would join her mother to help sell akara on the streets. But no matter how hard her mother worked, the profits were never enough to cover the family's expenses. Yet, amidst the trials and struggles of their daily lives, Ione and her mother found solace in their faith. They were devoted members of a local church led by a young and vibrant pastor named Daniel. Pastor Daniel's wife, Adora, was as gracious as she was beautiful. Her heart overflowed with kindness, and she tirelessly supported her husband in the church's activities. Together, they helped the church grow into a place of comfort and strength for many in the community. Adora was pregnant with her first child and eagerly awaited the day she would meet her baby. Despite her pregnancy, she continued to assist her husband, Pastor Daniel, in the church's activities. One day, Adora met Ione at church, and from that moment on, she took the young girl under her wing, showering her with love and support. Adora's kindness knew no bounds. She would often sew matching Ankara outfits for herself and Ione, and she even provided food for Ione and her mother. With her husband's help, Adora went further by paying for Ione's school fees and eventually renting them a better apartment after seeing their poor living conditions. Grateful for Adora's generosity, Ione eagerly helped her with household chores, especially as Adora's pregnancy progressed. Their bond grew stronger, filled with love and care. Ione visited Adora's home from time to time, helping with chores like cleaning, cooking, and washing. With each visit, their bond grew stronger, rooted in mutual respect and affection. Many in the community even mistook them for sisters, as Adora often showered Ione with beautiful clothes and gifts, making it seem like she was Ione's elder sister. But behind the warmth and righteousness of the pastor's household, darkness lurked in the heart of Pastor Daniel. One day, while Ione was alone in the house helping with chores, as Adora had gone out for an antenatal appointment, Pastor Daniel made unwanted advances toward her. Shocked and terrified, Ione managed to escape, desperately hoping it was just a misunderstanding, unable to believe such behavior could come from someone she had respected so deeply. Ione couldn't believe Pastor Daniel would do such a thing, so she brushed it off, assuming it was a mistake. However, despite her refusal, Pastor Daniel persisted. He began offering her everything she could ever want in exchange for her silence. He confessed that he had feelings for her and tried to tempt her with promises of wealth and security. But Ione stood her ground. "I can't betray Adora," she told him firmly. "She's like my elder sister. She's been there for me through everything." Before we continue the story, I'd like to kindly ask my audience to take a moment to subscribe and like the channel. Your support helps us continue sharing these stories with you. Mr. Daniel continued trying to convince her, promising to fulfill any of her desires and assuring her it would remain a secret, that Adora would never know. E&I refused again, standing by her principles. A few weeks later, Adora traveled out of town to give birth. Before leaving, she asked E&I to continue coming to the house to help take care of things while she was away. Adora, trusting both E&I and her husband, asked E&I to help Pastor Daniel with meals and anything else he might need around the house while she was away. Not long after Adora's departure, E&I's mother fell gravely ill and required urgent medical attention. The hospital demanded a large sum of money before they could begin treatment, leaving E&I desperate and without options. In her desperation, E&I turned to Pastor Daniel for help, but instead of offering assistance freely, Pastor Daniel reminded her of his previous request. He told E&I that the only way he would cover her mother's medical expenses was if she accepted his advances. Faced with her mother's life hanging in the balance and desperate for the funds, E&I reluctantly agreed, betraying both herself and Adora. As the weeks went by, E&I found herself drawn further into Pastor Daniel's grasp. He showered her with gifts and attention, providing far more than what Adora ever had. Despite her initial reluctance, E&I began to enjoy Pastor Daniel's company, falling deeper into a situation that compromised her values and strained her loyalty to Adora. Pastor Daniel began taking E&I out, sending her on vacations and making sure she had everything she wanted. E&I embraced a lavish, carefree lifestyle, raising suspicions from her mother, Cha, who questioned how she could afford it all. E&I lied, telling her mother that it was Adora who had helped her with everything. The relationship between E&I and Pastor Daniel had shifted from one of pastor and church member to a secretive, intimate affair. Every Sunday at church, their eyes would meet with desire, no longer able to hide their mutual attraction. As the weeks passed, E&I found herself entangled in a web of deceit and temptation. The allure of money clouded her judgment, and she silenced her conscience, convincing herself that Adora didn't need to know about the affair. E&I rationalized her actions, telling herself that as long as she kept the secret, she could continue enjoying the benefits of Pastor Daniel's wealth. When Adora returned from abroad after giving birth, E&I and Pastor Daniel's relationship continued right under her nose, hidden by lies and betrayal. Oh, poor Adora. If only she knew that the two people she loved most were betraying her behind her back. The consequences of E&I's actions soon became painfully clear when she discovered she was pregnant. When she told Pastor Daniel, he callously demanded that she get rid of it, revealing his true nature. E&I felt utterly betrayed and abandoned, but she had no choice. She wasn't ready to face the shame or embarrassment that would come with the truth, so she did as Pastor Daniel said. This pattern continued, and E&I found herself pregnant again and again each time Pastor Daniel insisted she terminate the pregnancy, and E&I complied, until the sixth time. When she told him about her sixth pregnancy, Pastor Daniel demanded the same as before, but this time E&I refused. The doctor had already warned her that another procedure could put her health at serious risk. Pastor Daniel coldly told E&I to do whatever she wanted, as he was no longer interested. It was then that E&I realized the depth of her mistake and how cruelly Pastor Daniel had begun to treat her. In a moment of clarity, she decided to expose Pastor Daniel's infidelity to the congregation. When the truth came out, Adora was heartbroken and devastated by the betrayal. She chose to leave her husband, unable to forgive him. The church elders, shocked by the revelation, asked Pastor Daniel to step down and leave the congregation, stating that they could not allow such a man to continue leading them. As the dust settled, E&I found herself at a crossroads, grappling with the consequences of her choices and the path she had taken. She was left to confront the damage done and the difficult journey ahead. Overwhelmed by pain and shame, E&I vowed to seek redemption. She was determined to rebuild her life with humility and integrity, learning from the mistakes she had made. And so, the story of E&I and Pastor Daniel came to an end. The moral of the story teaches us that while temptation may lead us astray, true redemption comes from facing our mistakes with honesty and courage. No amount of wealth or comfort is worth sacrificing our values or betraying the trust of those who love and support us. Thank you so much for watching my story. If you haven't already, please support us by clicking the subscribe button. It's completely free. Don't forget to share our videos, turn on notifications, and leave a comment. That way, you'll be the first to see our next exciting story. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.